difficulties, but I'm sure we'll work through it. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Walz under Minnesota Statute 12, Emergency Management declared a peacetime emergency on March 13, 2020. The city determined that any person meeting may not be practical or approved because of the health pandemic. The City of Detroit Lakes meeting will be held via telephone conference call or by other electronic means as outlined in Minnesota Statute 13B.021. Members of the public who wish to view the meeting virtually should submit a request to the city by Tuesday today at noon. The City of Detroit Lakes Council meeting will also be a hybrid meeting taking place with two options. You can attend in person at the historic Home Center Ballroom located at 806 Summit Avenue, or attend virtually, and again you have to submit a request to the city. So with that, I'll call the regular October meeting of the City Council to order, and I would like to invite all of you to please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held on September 8, 2020, and a special City Council meeting held on September 22nd, 2020. Is there any member of the council or any of the audience who wishes to make any changes, corrections, additions to the minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve both of those minutes. So moved. Second. Motion made second to approve minutes of the regular City Council meeting held September 8th. A special City Council meeting held September 22nd, 2020. Discussion. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Do a roll call. I'm sorry. Bly. Aye. Seaman. Aye. Suki. Aye. Imhoff. Aye. Wilkie. Aye. Mark Sears. Aye. Josephson. Aye. Leonard. Aye. And that'll also serve as the roll call I'm supposed to do at the beginning of the meeting. The consent agenda is also before the council, and all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Are there any items either on the consent agenda or any items that you would like removed from the consent agenda, members of the council or audience? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed. I so move. Second. Motion's been made. Second. Discussion. I'll call a roll call vote. Leonard. Aye. Josephson. Aye. Mark Sears. Aye. Wilkie. Aye. Imhoff. Yes. Suki. Aye. Zima. Aye. Bly. Aye. Motion carries. Rebecca Lynn Peterson, Director of the North Central Initiative, is here this evening and would like to address the council. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Thank you, city staff. Can you hear me okay? Yes. I visited with you last year around the same time in another location, and at that time I introduced to you West Central Initiative's new strategic framework. I've handed out a publication for you, and inside that publication you'll see the graphic that we designed last year around our strategic priorities. In your book, Writing a New Story, you'll find 3 stories about investing in local, reimagine regional, educate, activate, and celebrate. In the outer circle, you'll see the United Nations 17 sustainability goals. Sorry, the mask is sort of last year we reached out to you and asked you for your continued support during the strategic planning time. Of course, we know the world has changed dramatically then, and we'd love for your continued support, but I would like to work with staff as you do your budgeting. We had asked for $10,000 last year, $10,500 this year, $10,750 next year, but we know these are unique times. So I want to tell you a little bit about our work since we last visited. We were just getting ready to make our Change Maker grants in February, and we saw what was happening around the world. And in March, when the pandemic was declared, we were able to move quickly and identify over $1 million in funding that we could roll out into the region. One of the first needs that we addressed was the need for child care. Our early child care providers expressed extreme need, and so we were able to make over $350,000 in emergency child care grants. In Detroit Lakes, we were able to make 35 of those emergency child care grants, 2 to center-based child care centers, and 33 to home-based centers, for a total of $39,000. After that, we realized that there were some immediate needs in our region for emergency preparedness, safety measures. We knew that child care centers were running out of hand sanitizer, so we made that available. But we created something called the Resiliency Fund, and this helped folks with telehealth. And in the month of May, we made over $450,000 in resiliency grants. And 80 of those were made in Detroit Lakes for a total of $54,433. So we took a break, we took a pause in June. We are reopening the Resiliency Grant Program in the month of October, and we're accepting grant proposals right now. We'll be saving back probably $300,000 to see where the need is greatest in January. We see a lot of CARES money going out and DEED money going out, as you all are aware. And so there might be a different kind of need come January. So we're anxious to hear from you what some of the needs are in your community, and I'll entertain any questions at this time.
Anybody have any questions for Rebecca?
You know, Rebecca, one of the biggest needs in our community is income housing for low-income people. And a lot of people want to buy their own home. The problem is they don't have the down payments, and I hope that someday we can have a program that assists these people. They're already making the payments, but the high rents are paying in the apartment houses, but they don't have enough money for the down payment. And I hope that someday we'll be able to have a program through you or someone else that will give these people assistance and money.
Thank you for that comment, because we hear that quite often. West Central Initiative with a grant from the EDA just hired 2 new planners so that we can start addressing some of these issues on a more concrete basis. We've had some conversations with SPIDA, I don't know if you know Jason Nepple, about some of the tactics that he's proposing or strategies. And I know you're on our EDD board, so let's talk about that next month as well, because I know that Jill and Greg are anxious to do some housing projects across the region. That's a great need, not just here, but everywhere. And especially, I heard yesterday I was in Osakis. People are leaving the Twin Cities and they want to move up here. And so there is going to be a housing shortage for all kinds of reasons. Thank you for that comment. I should also mention that I sent Carrie a video ahead of time, and she'll be sending it to you. It just describes all of the programs that we do, and it introduces you to some of my colleagues who are working out in the field. It's actually a video of Battle Lake, but it accentuates all the programs that we're working on. And it might give you some ideas of things that we can do in Detroit Lakes as well.
Okay, excellent. Any further questions for Rebecca?
Don't hesitate to reach out. I will leave some of my cards with Carrie.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks again.
Without objection of council, I'm going to move to public hearing 4C. So I'll adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the matter of proposed vacation of a portion of the dedicated public road on the plan of Kirkland Beach and 174 Charlotte Drive. Is there a staff member that is here or on Zoom that can give us a... Larry, you're here? Okay. Go ahead.
For the vacation of the street at 174 Shirley Drive. We had similar requests for vacation along Shirley Drive in the past. This is just another one of those, and getting that all cleaned up. But there are several others that remain out there. In this case, The applicant will be requesting that we vacate the dedicated public road, and they will provide us with a road right of way for the existing shoulder drive road right of way. The road is currently located. So we would need to take action on both 1 and 2, 1 vacating the public road, and 2 accepting the permanent easement for the road right of way.
I don't know what you did, but the last half of your comment, I could hear more clearly, so.
I didn't do anything, so it's all thanks to technology issue.
We have a little bit of that tonight. So is there anyone in the audience or on Zoom that wishes to speak to the issue of the proposed vacation of the portion of the dedicated public road at 174 Shorewood Drive? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed, and I'm not sure which committee this fell under, but I would entertain a motion for the 2 different things that we need to do here. One is a resolution vacating, and one is a permanent easement. Somebody want to make a motion?
Your Honor, Dan Leonard here. This came before the Community Development Committee, and we reviewed the request for a resolution for vacation, recommended approval, and I so moved.
So are you making a motion on the first one and the resolution first?
Correct.
Okay, is there a second to that resolution? Second. Discussion on the motion. I'll take a roll call vote. Inholt.
Yes.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
The motion carries. In the second half then?
Yes, sir. The Community Development Committee also recommended that we have a permanent easement for a road right of way at 174 Sherwood Drive. Again, that is a recommendation I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a permanent easement for the road right-of-way utility purposes at 174 Shorewood Drive. Discussion on the motion. I'll do a roll call vote. Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Imholt.
Yes.
Zeman.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Motion carries. Without objection, I would like to go to item 5H on the Community Development Committee agenda. Dan?
Your Honor, are you sure you want to do 5H? That's being deferred. I would think we want to look at 5G. Is that correct, Larry?
That is correct, Dan.
Okay. So with that, Your Honor, 5H is going to be deferred because it's dependent on 5G actually passing. We can't consider H until next month. But item G is first reading and change to ordinance 472 to rezone 640 Randolph Road from I-1 Light Industrial District to B2 General Business District. This was reviewed by CDC. They recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. We're on item 5G to give consideration to the first reading of ordinance 472 rezoning 640 Randolph Road from I-1 to B2. Discussion on that motion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote. Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Imholt.
Yes.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
The motion carries. And so, we can't consider that other item 5H until next month, is that correct, Dan?
Yes, we need to do a second reading of this ordinance to do rezoning before we can consider the conditional use permit. So we can do the second reading next month and then immediately after consider the conditional use permit.
I the agenda, Dan?
Yes, sir. The idea here, before I make a motion, I'll just explain what's going on, and Larry was trying to needs to. But my idea is basically party wants to rezone the 717 Elm Street from R2, 1 and 2 family to B2 general business. So the planning commission reviewed this and recommended denial. The planning commission, the CDC also recommended denial. Essentially, we looked at this as being incongruous with the area, which is the neighborhood area, and concerned that this would be spot zoning. Not that the use is necessarily a bad use, if you will, but once it's rezoned B2, any B2 type of businesses would move in here. So with that, again, both bodies recommended denial of this rezoning, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, the motion is to deny and it's been seconded. John, did you have any comments that you wanted to make regarding this matter? If you would, just so we have in our minutes, John, will you state your name and address?
My name is John Stone. I live at 501 Birch Drive, which is just over the hill from this property. I also own the property at 716 West Elm, right across the street from the area that is in question, that is looking to rezone. We've been at prior meetings to speak about this, and we've come to this, or I've come to this one tonight. We bought the property at 716 because we didn't want development over there. We wanted to keep our neighborhood a neighborhood. It is a one-way in, one-way out neighborhood, so that's exactly what it is. It's a pretty closed-off neighborhood. Traffic is pretty restricted. We do have, the city dump is right behind us, of course, so there's a lot of city trucks that go through there. But as far as traffic that doesn't belong in the neighborhood, it just really doesn't exist over there. And when we bought that property, we were kind of looking to, down the road, hopefully remove the home and the garage over there and build a different home for ourselves. Like I mentioned in the last two meetings, our goal is not to be located directly across from a business zone. So that, if it was to be rezoned to business, that would greatly change, make us reconsider what our plans for that property are. I guess that's pretty much what I can say about that. And thank you for hearing this.
Thanks, sir. Any further comments from the council? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question. And the motion again is to deny. Boki?
Aye.
Marks Erickson?
Aye.
Leonard?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
Emmons?
Yes.
Motion carries. Without objection, I would like to move item 78, I believe Terry Keaton was with us somewhere on Zoom. Terry, are you there? Madeline, you want to introduce this item, please?
Yes, we have Terry Eaton with the utility here to talk about the sale of general obligation bonds that took place today. And first I'll call on Heidi just to review what those bonds were for, and then we'll go to Terry.
Heidi, are you with us?
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and council members. Today, the city sold refunding bonds to refund the 2011 bonds that were previously issued and take advantage of some really attractive interest rates lately. The bonds that were originally issued were for the North Washington Avenue project, Park and Peoples, Tower Road Phase 2, North Industrial, Veterans Way, and then there was also a TIF portion which we are going to actually pay off and not refund. We had enough cash in that TIF district to completely retire that portion of the bonds without refunding them. So without further ado, I'll turn over to Terry Beaton from Baker Tilly to give us the rundown on our bid results from this morning.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, bids were received for these refunding bonds in our offices at 10 o'clock this morning, and we received 5 bids, and the low bid came from the United Bankers Bank. The bids range from 0.99, so less than 1%, 0.99% to 1.22%. So a month ago, when you authorized the sale, we had estimated interest rates of 1.21%. So again, this is about 21 basis points less than that. And our savings estimate was $341,000. And the actual savings at this new lower rate will be closer to $383,000, plus an extra $40,000 by timing this so well. And another measure of great refinancing is when you do a bond, if you're over 3% in the ratio of your savings as a percentage of the bond issue, it's a strong refunding. This is at 15%. So 5 times that amount. There was a premium on the bonds, and so the amount we issued in the resolution will be lowered from $2,225,000 to $2,190,000. So you're issuing less bonds to do the same thing. Your AA stable bond rating is very attractive in the market. People are looking for stability. And so again, their comments are very similar to last time. They talked about your strong financial management, strong budgeting performance, and then they expect, even with the impact of COVID and the pandemic, that the long-term stability will be just fine. And so with that, of course, we recommend the low bid from the Netting Bankers Bank. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Any questions for Terry? All sounds very good. So, Madeline, prepared to make a motion?
We are. The Finance Committee recommends that we award the sale of those general obligation bonds to United Bankers, whatever that was.
Thank you.
The Finance Committee has moved that.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution awarding the sale of general obligation bonds, Series 2020C. Discussion on the motion? I'll call a roll call vote. Zeman?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Kimball?
Yes.
Wolke?
Aye.
Suki? Marks? Erickson?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Renner?
Aye.
The motion carries. I don't think there's any other people here for anything special, so we'll go back to where we left off with the public hearings, and that will be item 4B. So at this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments in the matter of annexation of a 3.8-acre tract of land in Detroit Township and zoning that tract B3, and it's at 2655 Highway 10 West and 182 West Palm Lake Road. Larry, would you like to preface this item for the council?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a 3.8-acre tract of land owned by use storage. It was not included in the original annexation. It was, it's a long strip of land that runs north and south next to the railroad spur that's out on Highway 10 West. The recommendation of the Community Development Committee is to approve the annexation.
Okay. Dan, do you have a motion at this time?
Yes, sir. I move to approve the annexation.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the annexation of a 3.8-acre tract in Detroit Township and zone it B3, and that's at 2655 Highway 10 West and 182 West Long Lake Road. Discussion on the motion?
Mayor, just to clarify, it's just the first reading, right?
Oh, that's right.
First reading.
I didn't read far enough, I was thinking. This will be the first reading. Further discussion? I'll do a roll call vote. Josephson?
Aye.
Leonard?
Aye.
Wolke?
Aye.
Marks Erickson?
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
Kimball?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
The motion carries. First reading is given. At At this time, I will adjourn the regular meeting, call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the matter of proposed vacation of a portion of the dedicated public road, plat of Kirkwood Beach. We already did that. That's why I supposed to check last time. I think we're up to the Community Development Committee agenda again.
Yes, Your Honor. I can take that. So the item 5A is second reading of ordinance 468 to rezone the 609 Terry Street from agricultural RA to R21 and 2-family residential. And CDC, this is second reading, CDC did review this and recommends adoption, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance 468, rezoning from RA to R2 at 609 Terry Street. Discussion?
I just want to say that it'll make a lot of neighbors happy out there when we get this passed tonight.
Okay, further discussion? I'll take a roll call. Vote.
Yes.
Bogie.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Renner.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Seaman.
Aye.
Marks. Erickson.
Aye.
The motion carries. Dan?
Yes, sir. Item 5B is first reading of ordinance 468.
Dan, we lost you.
We lost our internet.
With your permission, I'll continue on.
Go ahead, Bruce.
The CDC committee recommends that the first reading of ordinance 466 amend the zoning ordinance relative to limiting driving uses, and I so move.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 466, amending the zoning ordinance relative to eliminating drive-in uses as a conditional use. Discussion by the council? Okay. Are we thinking we're down for a while or what?
Yeah, we lost our internet connection, so you'll have to wait till we get back up and running.
Do we have to wait? Do we have a quorum?
I believe you do because not all of the members that are present at the meeting are present. Like, the one that can't connect.
Yeah.
Well, then we're gonna have to take it. Come on.
How's this work?
We weren't planning on these technical difficulties, were we?
I'll document the minutes.
Did I break the internet?
Still think we're rich here.
Jamie, did you, we're back. Hold back.
I think we're back to them. Maybe
Yeah, they never left.
Kelsey, we are back, but our internet connection remains extremely unstable at this point in time, so if we lose you again, just be prepared to hang out and wait for us.
Yeah. Dan is gone.
We decided to take a short recess too, so give us a minute.
You guys all look like you're kind of like robots or something, it's all wonky. So are we all back here?
we lost that. Fred, good internet, looks like.
What's that?
Is that you, John Tyson?
I figured that's not any more bandwidth.
Yes.
Something flopped over to my phone, which apparently is more reliable.
You mean you're telling me it's your fault?
It wasn't like something large crap files, just some emails.
We're waiting for a vote from our end.
What?
I'm sure you know it's all under.
I've been waiting for worse.
It's always your fault.
I know, I said I've been waiting for worse, so I'll take it out. Oh, yeah.
Well, here, the rules may say that we need to, okay.
What's that?
It's an alien.
So Bruce, they're back, so as soon as you.
Yep, a motion in a second. Oh,
Jesus. He said that was at J. Cook State Park.
It looks like Heidi's down the east, the wind must have got it down.
This is.
okay, here we go then.
So, I can't hardware.
Reconnect the links are.
Reconnect. Can I have it here and there?
I can't vote.
No,
Just trying to help.
you're elected to nothing.
They're not on our end,
You can have an opinion.
I just can't. Like, even down here, I'm gonna be out. Usually that's the point. It's gonna drop down as soon as it gets connected, because it's not stable.
Can you hear us now?
How's it up on yours and your number?
Okay, we are running off of Tom's hotspot on his phone, so hopefully we'll have a better stable connection.
Okay, so let's reconvene the meeting, and while you guys were off in cyberspace somewhere, Bruce made a motion under item 5B to give first reading of ordinance 466, amending the zoning ordinance relative to eliminating private uses as a conditional use. And the motion was seconded. Discussion by anyone on the council?
Just to point out to people that are online, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
that this actually broadens the ability of businesses to have driving uses rather than getting a conditional use permit, it's just a permitted use.
Okay, that's a good clarification, thank you. Further discussion? I'll take a roll call vote. Volkey? Aye. Winner?
Aye.
Joseph? Aye. Mark Searson?
Aye.
Seaman? Aye.
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
Kimball? Yes. Motion carries. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, item 5C is first reading of an ordinance to rezone 101 Washington Avenue from B2 General Business District to RM Multifamily Residence at McKinn's 101 Washington Avenue. Anyway, the CDC reviewed this, recommended approval, and I so move.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 471, rezoning 101 Washington Avenue from B2 to RM. Discussion on the motion. Roll call vote. Winner?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Mark Searson?
Aye.
Volkey?
Aye.
Kimball? Yes. Suki?
Aye.
Seaman?
Aye.
Lye?
Aye.
The motion carries and first reading is given.
Okay, and so item D depends on passing the second reading of item C, so we're going to have to hold off defer item D until November.
Okay.
So with that, I'd like to move on to item F, which is we have a request to allow an 8-foot fence surrounding the property on two sides of 704 Sherwood Drive. This would put the fence all the way down to the lake. And the reason they're asking for this variance is to keep deer out. However, it's apparent that that's not a unique circumstance to this property in Detroit Lake. So the CDC recommended.
Okay, hold on a minute, we lost you again. Carrie, why is the screen shaking like that?
Oh, did we lose him
The
again?
shaking is from the train. The projector jiggles,
Oh.
so that's why you get the screen shaking.
Looks like you're still trying to say that. Do we have audio still?
Yeah.
Can you guys back with us?
We can hear you, but we can't see you. Did anybody catch the motion, my motion to deny the variance?
We've got a motion and a second, we've had discussion, and I'm ready for a roll call vote.
Very good.
Imholt?
Yes.
Suki?
Aye.
Seaman?
Aye.
Lye?
Aye.
Volkey?
Aye.
Mark Searson?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Winner?
Aye.
The motion carries and the variance is denied.
Okay, thank you. I believe that takes us to item 9, in fact, which is a resolution approving the final plat of Lakeview Storage Common Interest number 92. The CDC reviewed this, recommended approval, and I so move.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution approving the final plat of Lakeview Storage, Common Interest Community number 92. Discussion on the motion. Roll call vote. Lye.
Aye.
Seaman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Imholt.
Yes.
Volkey.
Aye.
Mark Searson.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item J is resolution to approve the notice of intent to annex a portion of Lakeview Township to the city of Detroit Lakes at 1537 Legion
seconded to approve a resolution approving a notice of intent to annex a portion of Lakeview Township at 1537 Legion Road. Larry, do you have something you want to comment on?
Yes, we looked at several properties in the Legion Road area that are ripe for annexation. We're starting with this 1.13 acre tract, which is currently owned by Perry Rosley. And that's all there is to say. So what will happen is we will send this notice of intent to the township. They will have 90 days to object. If they don't object, then we can go ahead and annex it by ordinance.
Okay, discussion by the council? If not, we have a motion second on the table. We'll do a roll call vote. Bulky.
Aye.
Import.
Yes.
Suki.
Yes.
Seaman.
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Mark Sirrison.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Josephson. Aye. Motion carries. Anything else, man?
That's all I have, Your Honor, and I'm more than happy to get off this struggle bus and turn the meeting back over to you.
The whole night's been that way. So we're up to the Public Works Committee, and I would call on Chair Campbell.
Your Honor, with your permission, I'm going to have Alderman Volkey take the agenda.
Okay, I think you told me that, but then you magically appeared here.
Item 6A, Public Works had discussion on the gravel pit ordinance, so no action there, just discussion topics. Item 6B is consideration of a resolution of the city to petition the Pelican River Watershed District to establish a new lake management plan. Kelsey, can you fill us in, please?
Sure, we talked about this. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last month. Terry Gannett was here from the Pelican River Watershed District. Basically, what this petition allows the watershed district to do is spread out a levy that they're only allowed to do once every 5 years over every year. So instead of this being kind of a roller coaster on the tax levy, they see a blend every 5 years. This would allow to spread it out every year.
The Public Works had discussion on this and recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution for the city to petition the Pelican River Watershed District to establish a new lake management plan. Discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Mark Sirrison.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Leonard.
Aye.
Wolke.
Aye.
Blythe.
Aye.
Imhoff.
Yes.
Seaman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6C, consideration for resolution authorizing a preliminary engineering report for the Lake Forest Edition, 7th edition, Phase 2. Mr. Clement, anything to add on that? Or Larry? I'm sorry? Mr. Pratt?
John, if you take any questions on that one.
Sure. This is just a report for the final phase of the Lake Forest subdivision. So phase 2 of the 7th edition is kind of the west end of his subdivision. So standard procedure with regular report. Hopefully bring that back next month. Developers indicated that he would like to, likely would proceed with the project next spring. It'll be somewhere around a 20-lot project.
Okay, go ahead, man.
Public Works has discussed this. We recommend approval. I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution authorizing a preliminary engineering report for the Lake Forest 7th edition, Phase 2. Discussion? Roll call vote. Blythe.
Aye.
Seaman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Imhoff.
Yes.
Wolke.
Aye.
Mark Sirrison.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Motion approved. Is approved.
Thank you. Item 16, consideration to approving the agreement of provision to summer recreational program between the city of DeKalb and Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center. We had discussion on this. I believe the annual payment to the DLCCC is $2,500 for those guys to help support and run the youth rec program. We all think this is a great program, so we recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agreement for the provision of summer rec programs between the city and the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center. Discussion? I'll do a roll call vote. Suki.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Seaman.
Aye.
Moore. Yes. Mark Severson.
Aye.
Oki.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Joseph.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6E, consideration to a memo to sell the 2000 International with plow and wing to Vergus, the municipality of Vergus. We discussed this in Public Works, and we believe this is a good move, and we recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve selling a 2000 International with plow and wing to the municipality of Burgess, Minnesota. Discussion? Roll call vote. Oki.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Leonard.
Aye.
Mark Severson.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Seaman.
Aye.
Kimball. Yes. The motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6F, consideration to a memo to purchase a 2009 F-350 6.4 liter diesel truck with a 9-foot utility box. We're purchasing this right from MnDOT and will be used as a parts truck. Public Works review, and with approval, I do move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the purchase of 2009 diesel truck. Discussion on the motion? Do a roll call vote. Winner.
Aye.
Mark Severson.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Wolke.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Kimball. Yes. Bly.
Aye.
Seaman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6G, consideration to memo to purchase a 2014 F-150 from MnDOT to sell one of the building department vehicles. Public Works reviewed this, and we so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to purchase a 2014 F-150 from MnDOT and sell one of the building department vehicles. Discussion on the motion? Roll call vote. Seaman.
Aye.
Kimball. Yes. Bly.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Mark Severson.
Aye.
Wolke.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Leonard.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6H, I would call Mr. John Pratt, the city engineer, for the monthly report, please.
Very good. Mayor and council, I'll just get on a few of these items. For item 1 on our status report is the Randolph Road and Highway 10 intersection improvement project. Of course, we finished up Randolph Road last year. That looks good. We're still working on some of the final paperwork there, but MnDOT has finished up their portion of the project, which included the new signals at 10 and 54. Those have been well received. And then more recently now, they did wrap up the improvements at Chris Street and the modifications to that signal. Just to refresh the public and the council, that intersection was converted to a 3/4 intersection, so you can make all those movements from Chris Street 10 except for a left-hand eastbound turn from Chris Street to 10. All other movements there are still available. Remove the signal at Chris and Randolph. That's now a 2-way stop. And the one thing that I do want to point out, MnDOT had mentioned this to me. They've got a lot of good comments on the project, but are trying to remind people how that signal is going to work. If you're eastbound on Highway 10, that light will virtually never turn red and green. If you haven't noticed, it's just a green arrow. That's why it will never turn. You're welcome, Charlie. But more importantly, the part that might be a little odd to some folks is if you're westbound, occasionally that will turn red. It may seem for no apparent reason. What happens is that westbound traffic is stopped through preemption of the railroads. So if there's a train approaching town, you may not even see it yet. It's going to stop westbound traffic, allow all those left turners coming from Highway 10 onto Chris Street to make that left-hand turn and flush those all through. Once that's done, the westbound will turn green again. So the only time that westbound turns green is really when a train is approaching. Otherwise, it will turn all the time. So anyway, other updates, item 3, Westlake Drive, Region 6. Not necessarily great news on that. The hearing for the quiet title action was scheduled for the end of September. As we approached that date, we had several judges that recused themselves and pointed out that been punted to Otter Tail County. The hearing has been rescheduled for sometime in early November, which isn't necessarily great news. We'll have the hearing and then it would be up to 90 days before we get a decision on that. Or the legal team is going to be asking for a quicker decision on that just to keep the project moving ahead and on time. But that is a little bit of a roadblock, so I'll keep you posted on that. West Avenue and Willow Street, I'm going to be pulling that off. That project's completely done. Berquist subdivision had some communication Larry has with that developer indicating that we may have a project, a subdivision project out there next summer. Not a little definite yet. South Washington Avenue project, of course, lots going on with that right now. We're still very much in the heat of the battle there. I guess a couple of things to point out. Contractors have been doing just a fantastic job. I really can't say enough good about them. They're on all fronts, the prime contractor, the subcontractors, really doing a great job. The roundabout is open, been working pretty well. Like anything, there's always a little bit of a learning curve with that. I think for the most part, general public understand how that works, because it works just like a traditional roundabout. What I do want to point out there is the part that makes these mini roundabouts different than the traditional larger roundabouts that you see on the highway is the central island and then the splitter islands that are leading up to them are designed to be traversable for large vehicles. So that's the hard part here, is getting truck drivers to understand that they can use those medians either as they're approaching or exiting. Both the splitter island and the central island are there for them to be able to drive up onto the design for that. So that's one thing I've noticed, but other than that, it's really been working in line with measurement really well. It's moving traffic nicely. So they've got the one at Willow all done. The next phase of the project from Willow down to effectively the subway area or Langford and Forest, they should have that about buttoned up. I think by this weekend they'll have all the concrete poured, so early part of next week hopefully we can get in there and do joint sealing and pavement marking, and sometime next week we should have that portion open so people will be able to come further down Washington Avenue, again in that subway area. Most of the focus right now is around the North Shore Drive intersection, and that will remain under construction for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So we need some nice weather to carry us through, and then we'll have some cleanup work in the spring. So,
Your question, Mr. Pratt, you mentioned yesterday if any council members have any feedback from people on the roundabout, please pass it on.
Thank you. Yeah, anything, good or bad, and part of the reason I asked that in this case specifically is there's not a lot of these yet. They're becoming popular. There's none up here, and accordingly, there's not a lot of great design standards, and things are getting figured out a little bit as we go along. It's not to say that we didn't really do a lot of homework on it, but if you hear anything good or bad, let me know on this, especially as we're contemplating another one.
Yeah, in the comments I heard, pretty much good.
Generally speaking, that's what I've heard as well. So, moving on, Long Pine Estates, that's a subdivision owned by Long Lake, just north of the Brainerd Village subdivision. That is underway. All the utilities are basically in the ground here now. We'll continue with some street construction yet this year, as weather allows, but we'd like to have some of that carry over into the spring. Person subdivision, obviously not going to get launched this year, but I think there is some movement on that with that developer where it's starting to line up for a next summer project. And we continue to do some preliminary work on what will be a large project for next year with Willow Street, Holmes, and Frazee Street. After discussion last month with the council, we got support to at least continue looking at a roundabout or otherwise at the Holmes and McKinley intersection. And so we're doing some further analysis on that to make sure that that would operate like we want it to operate. And probably be looking at having some sort of a public information meeting or a hearing here in the next month or two. So
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Comments? Okay. Anything else, Matt?
Yes, Mayor, 2 items just for discussion purposes only, to keep everybody in the loop. We discussed the moorings in the lake, had some discussion topics on that, as well as a discussion on controlling the deer population within the city limits. Other than that, nothing, Your Honor.
All right. Move to the finance.
Just one more thing I can get out here. I believe our Tom was saying somebody's going to send out, the park board has a 10 priority for long-range planning endpoints, and I asked that to be emailed out to the council members. So if you look at that and have any input or any thoughts, please pass it along, please.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Matt Madeline, Finance Committee.
That item A has been completed. Item B is consideration for a resolution for distributing CARES Act funding, and I will call on Kelsey to go through what he's looking for approval of tonight.
Mayor and council, in your packet, there was a memo and a resolution to approve spending another $127,247.37 in CARES Act money. In the packet, if you go to the spreadsheet, multicolored spreadsheet, and I think there's some hard copies there too, basically all the items that are in yellow on that spreadsheet are included into tonight's request. And we went through that in quite a bit of detail at the Finance Committee meeting. I can go into more detail if there's any questions. Ultimately, this leaves about $250,000 left to appropriate, and we would expect that action to be next month, the November council meeting. And then a part of that will, of course, be our business subsidy grants. We had a little bit of discussion about that at Finance Committee. Right now, we're looking at least $160,000 available for business subsidy grants. With that, I'll take any questions.
The deadline for those grants is when, Monday? Kelsey?
Sorry,
There are no questions. The Finance Committee did review that, and we do recommend spending the CARES money on the yellow marked items that Kelsey has delineated here.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution for distributing this month's round of CARES Act funding. Discussion?
I just want to say that we do have the deadline coming up tonight, and I hope that we still have time for people to get their applications in, and we have 32 applications in right now. I was hoping we could have more, but people in this room, if you see people that are needing some help, please tell them to go over to the city office and pick up those applications and get them in as soon as possible, so we can part give you some of that $160,000.
So just for clarification, I don't think Kelsey heard me, but the deadline is Monday, next Monday to get those in.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Further discussion?
One other thing to point out too that we kind of breezed over was the refunding of another 4 months of liquor permits for those applicants, $24,000 to those restaurants and establishments that those get refunded back. It goes a long way for those folks, so I'm glad we can do that.
Good comment. Further discussion? I'll call the question. Suki?
Aye.
Inwald?
Yes.
Wolke?
Aye.
Mark Searson?
Aye.
Leonard?
Aye.
Joseph?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Blythe?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B is consideration to approving the American Legion campground rates for 2021. The Finance Committee reviewed the quite minor increase actually for next year and moves to approve those rates. And if anyone has any questions, they can refer them to Kelsey.
Okay, so is that a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the American Legion campground rates for 2021. Discussion? Roll call vote. Leonard?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Blythe?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
Inwald?
Yes.
Wolke?
Aye.
Mark Sisson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else, Matt?
No, just make sure you take a look at the financial reports that were in here. The liquor district is obviously doing great. Our local option sales tax is doing very, very well. As we all expect, the food and beverage tax is about 13% down from the last month, but it's coming back.
Yeah, Heidi's got those under item 7G if you're interested in looking at them. So, thank you. Well, we'll move on to the public safety committee. Ron, you're in for the council.
Yes, item 8A is consideration to the first reading ordinance 469, adding section 1009 to the city code relative to the fire department's key lock box. Chief Ryan Swanson talked to us about this last month. This is for access to emergency responder repository units. And I think I'm going to have Ryan just go over that one more time because we are a business owner out there. And I have a large building or an apartment house that's locked up. You should know that you'll be eating this. So Ryan, will you give an update on that? Yes, please. This is for the first reading of this tonight.
Good evening. So what this ordinance is for is if you have an alarm in your commercial building or an apartment complex where there's alarm systems and stuff like that, where middle of the night we could have an alarm call, fire call, something like that, where we can gain access to the building. We're using the Knox company, KNOX. I have actually gone now and set them up online, so as the businesses in town, stuff like that, can go online and submit their application, and then it just gets emailed to me for approval. And I also want to put out there that if people have any questions, they should call me, because I just had a business in town, and I worked with them, and then they had a change of hands with the people that were doing the work on the building, and they got way more box than they really needed to. So, you know, obviously there's an expense to everything, but if you don't need a $900 box and we get by with $400 box, let's obviously want to make sure we can adjust this and get all that handled. So, I did bring a box with me yesterday, but I was a half hour late, so I missed the meeting. Just to kind of show you guys, because I just got mine in for our business in town, so you guys could look at it and stuff like that, and just kind of see how durable they are. So, is there any questions?
Any questions for Chief Swanson? Thank you, sir.
Anything else, Ron? Or?
Okay, that should do it. Unless you have, how you come as far as your manpower. I know we're getting some new hires, so how's that working with volunteers?
The new hires are doing good. They're all keeping with pace, stuff like that. We just also had a retirement. Lauren Kraus just retired off the fire department of 20 years. So the October business meeting last Wednesday was his last day. So we want to thank Lauren for his dedication to the community and 20 years on the volunteer fire department in Detroit Lake. So, so technically we're back down one number, but coming this spring we'll be having a few of those new probationary members get off their one-year probation, so then we'll be actively searching some more to start the funnel.
Okay, thank you. Ron, you have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion then to be recommended, and I so move.
Motion been made, seconded to give first reading to ordinance 469, adding section 1009 of the city code relative to fire department key lock boxes. Discussion?
I'm going to comment, I guess. I do agree with we need to have access to buildings, and some building owners are having doors broken into or knocked out when there's an alarm call that might get a false alarm and save your money that way. One concern I do have is if it's a $400 box or a $200 box, I don't know if this is the time to ask businesses to put that on their building right now. And we've got people that are struggling now and they can put $400, $200, whatever that box is going to cost. Last month we were concerned about raising taxes on businesses, and now we're going to turn around and make them put a $200 box on their building. I think it's a little bit not the right time for this. Maybe wait till the springtime to get this taken care of.
Okay, further discussion or comments? This is a first reading, and so if we give first reading and you agree with Dan at a later time, we can always factor in and not do the second reading, so.
Mayor, I've got a question for Chief Ryan. Is there a deadline we have to have these in by, or can they put these in a certain time period, or?
Well, I believe Kelsey has a deadline of next year on it or something, so.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, the ordinance requires basically existing business live by November 1st, 2021.
So in effect, that would kind of go along with what you were saying, Dan. We're putting it off for a year, so.
But going along with that, though, like Chief said, if you don't have one of these lock boxes, you don't have a key to get in, they're gonna break the doors in. And if you go to an apartment house and break their door in, they're gonna have more than $200. So, in the long run, I understand what Dan's saying, but at the same time, if you get into a large unit where you have to break all these doors in, there's gonna be a lot of damage done. So it's kind of a thing if you do, thing if you don't, but that's where it's at right now.
Correct.
Further discussion? I'm going to go ahead and call the question. Bulky?
Aye.
Marks Harrison?
Aye.
Kimball?
Yes.
Suki?
Aye.
Josephson?
Yes.
Winter?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Did I miss anybody? Okay. The motion carries. Anything else, Ryan?
I think that's all that I think.
Okay, anything on the liquor gambling control, Dan?
Nothing.
Okay, we're down to the Public Utilities Commission items, and there is a couple of items that need council approval. Madeline, are you prepared to talk to these, or should I call in for now? Maybe-
Well, I told Brunel this morning at Public Utilities Commission that I was just going to turn it right over to him.
Is he here though?
Yes.
I'm sitting in the wrong side of the room tonight. I kind of blend in over here. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, in the packet, on page 186 of your packet, there's a cover letter summarizing what that cover letter states. In 2018, the Public Utilities Commission did a cost of service rate study for the water fund and the water utility. And if you recall, there were several programs, about 8% increases that were being implemented over several years to ensure that we had adequate funds in the water fund to fund operations and capital projects. So that's what our recommendation is for this year. It's an approximate 8% increase. It depends upon the size of the meter on the actual increase. It varies somewhere between 2 and 8.5 and 9%. Again, depending on the size of the meter. The average residential customers see their water bill go up $1.35. Non-residential customers will see theirs go up a little bit more depending on the size of the meter. And outdoor water rates will go up as well. Now, for your reference on this, I provided some comparisons of other communities' water bills. And for the first one shows the comparison of the residential bills. It used 4.5 cubic feet of water, which is our average for a residential customer. For 2020, the water bill would have been $21.91, and for 2021, it would be $22.17. You can see we're well below the median, even after the increase, and well below several peers that we're compared to. There's also other comparisons in here for a 1-inch commercial meter for 5/8 inch commercial meter, non-residential meter, and also for 1-inch non-residential water consumer. So our rates are very, very competitive on the water side, and I just wanted to show this to you and provide this information for your comparison. So that is the commission approved this morning. If there's any questions, please answer.
Any questions for Renell? Otherwise, I would call on Madeline for a motion at this time.
Correct. We make a motion to approve the 2021 water rates.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2020 water rates for the Detroit Lakes Public Utilities. Discussion on the motion?
Well, I'd just like to say that here in Detroit Lakes, we've got some very, very good rates. We're very fortunate to have a community. They can't believe what my water bill and electric bill is. They can't believe it. So so much higher, so, kudos to the Fields Commission and keep up their good work.
Matt?
Vernell, thank you for running these graphs, it's very informational, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Further discussion? I'll call the question. Blythe?
Aye.
Seaman?
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
Engel?
Yes.
Wolke?
Aye.
Mark Severson?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Leonard?
Aye.
The motion carries. Brunel, you want to speak to the next issue?
Yes, for 2021, we're not recommending any changes in the electric rates. We're not increasing electric rates for 2021, but there are a couple of changes that we need to have approved. They're in our rate schedule. The first one is the PURPA, the Public Utilities Regulatory Policies Act. That's actually the rate that Missouri River will pay one of our customers that puts generation behind the meter. That would be winter solar. So any excess generation that that facility would produce comes back on our system. Missouri River buys that. The rate for 2021 is 1.91 cents. That actually went down from 2.46 cents in 2020. So 1.91 cents will be the new rate for the PURPA rate. And then the other one is Bright Energy Choices. And Carrie, can you put that graph up for me? For those of you that are here, I handed out, hopefully Carrie can get this slide up, to show you what our power supply is today. Today, with this power supply, we get 83% of our energy is carbon-free. 40% of our energy comes from renewable resources. So if a business or a homeowner decides they want to be 100% carbon-free, 100% renewable, we can provide that energy to them for 1 mil per kilowatt hour. And this really depends upon how much they use and their load profile. But for 2020, the Bright Energy Choices rate was 5 mils or half a cent per kilowatt hour. For 2021, it's going to be 1 mil or 10th of a cent added if you want to be carbon-free or 100% renewable. And I just did an example in my house. If I wanted to be 100% renewable in my house, it cost me 65 cents a month. So it's very, very, very affordable to go 100% carbon-free, 100% renewable. And for businesses that have a sustainability requirement, sustainability program, they have to meet renewable or carbon-free power supply to meet a sustainability requirement. We can set them up with this and provide them with renewable energy credits for that energy utility. So this is a great opportunity for somebody who's got a sustainability program and can be very, very affordable. And if anybody's got any questions on this to get into it, they can call Bridget in our office to get set up. But those are 2 changes to the rate schedule. Mayor and council, it's a quick rate and the regular choices rate.
Okay, Madeline, would you like to introduce a motion for these rates?
I would. I move that we approve the 2021 electric rates.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to amend the electric rates for 2021 as outlined by Superintendent Brunel. Discussion?
Mayor, again, an example of a great place to travel, a great place to build and live, and thanks to the Missouri River and to the public utilities for the renewable program. Brunel, and then I need a question after we vote here. I do have other questions.
Okay, I'm going to call the question unless there's further discussion. Leonard?
Aye.
Blythe?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Seaman?
Aye.
Mark Severson?
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
Wolke?
Aye.
Engel?
Yes.
Okay, anything else for the public utilities?
Well, Mayor, I just wanted to, for now, I believe I was looking at the Star Tribune the other day, and they have a list of the cities with the electric charging stations for the cars. And of course, we're on that map, and we're talking about expanding it, but maybe just for public purposes, can you just fill everybody in again? That's all up and operational, correct?
Yeah, so if I touch base on that, one thing I'm done with that. Yeah, I believe the charging station was energized today. I saw the work order go through for that, so the crew got that energized. We're just waiting on some documentation from Zep Energy to get the account set up. Yes, I believe that is ready to go, so if people need an electric vehicle charged up, the charging station should be ready to rock and roll. And it'd be nice to see that get utilized some in a charging station.
So as I understand it takes about 40 minutes on average?
It really depends upon what vehicle you're using, whether you're using a DC fast charger or the level 2 charger. So it really depends upon the vehicle you want to plug into.
Well, I guess my point is you can plug your your car in there. You can walk across the parking lot to the city liquor store, fill up and walk it back to your car. Just put that plug in for both.
Absolutely. There's a good variety in that store too, over the plug in for that as well. Mr. Mayor and Council, I can make one more point quick. Like, you'll notice that we did not request a wastewater or sewer fee increase for 2021. This is the first year in many years now that we have not had to have a sewer increase. And it does me great pleasure to come to you and tell you that we do not have that sewer increase.
I've got a question too now. When people use that charging station, is there do you use your credit card? Is that free or how does that work?
No, it'll be a credit card system on that. You'll swipe your credit card. And I don't know which charge, if they charge by the minute or the kilowatt hour. I think it's by time. And I don't know what that rate is. I have not seen that from Zep yet, so I don't know what the rate is for charging for 40 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever they do. I don't know what that is.
Okay, then also, I thought when we originally were going to get this money, weren't we going to have 4 chargers or, when it's all done, or 2 to start with and 2 more later, or is that?
Well, I believe there's 2 DC chargers and 2 level 2 chargers there right now. With expansion, they have one more setup just like there's there.
Okay, so there'll be one more coming in then?
Possibly, yes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up, Bruce. And I know they want to locate these in areas where people can go do some other things about getting charged out. For the public's information, if they're not aware, the station is located, as Bruce said, right across the liquor store, right by Jimmy John's, right downtown. Okay, I think we're down to mayor items, and for the sake of not having to do this roll call vote 9 times, I'd like to just put all these recommendations for these advisory committees in one motion without objection by the council. So I'd like to appoint Dale Wild to the Development Authority to fill Chet Collins' term. I would like to reappoint Dan Josephson and Madeline Suki to the Detroit Mountain Recreation Board. I would like to appoint Marcus Locker to the Planning Commission. I would like to reappoint Eric Lundmark to the Planning Commission. I would like to reappoint Nancy Hager to the Planning Commission. And I'd like to reappoint Matt Oakey to the Sports Arena Commission. The rest of them, I've reached out to some of these other people, and I'll have the balance of these next month. One thing I want to point out, I did mention this to Ron, is that Ben Wheatley does not want to serve another term on the HRA board, so if anybody's got any suggestions for that board, let me know.
Mayor, I would move to the approval of the names you mentioned to the various commissions and boards.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion? I'll call the roll call. Vote. Aye.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Suki. Imhoff.
Aye.
Oki. Aye. Mark Erickson.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Leonard.
Aye.
Just for
we need
do 12A. 12A is consideration to a resolution extending the declaration of emergency. And so I think what the resolution says is that we're going to extend it again, as we have since this whole pandemic started, for another month until the next council meeting, and I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to extend the declaration of emergency. Discussion? Roll call vote. Leonard?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Mark Erickson?
Aye.
Oki? No. Imhoff?
Yes.
Suki?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
So of all the votes tonight, we only had 1 no. Not saying you have to hold on to everything.
No, just, use it in the last 30 days, might be going.
Is there anything from the city staff or the city administrator that needs to come before the council?
Just going to make one comment. The museum has their bid opening today, and I think they're probably going to start on the entrance project within the next week or 2. So that's probably going to impact our meeting place. At a minimum, it's probably going to impact the way we get to the ballroom. or if we have a better option, we might meet somewhere else, but I guess just a heads up on that. And then secondly, we're waiting to see what happens with this, special session, if there'll be a body bill. It looks like the House might take up approval of the body bill tomorrow, and Senate maybe on Thursday. And again, every indication I've seen the body bill that they're looking at approving would include $2 million for Heartland Trail and $1.85 million for Becker Pine Museum. Then, of course, it also includes that Public Facilities Authority's funding that we would need for our infrastructure project next year. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from the city staff? A few information announcements. Public discussion of the 2021 budget levy will take place on December 8th at 6:01 p.m. Council meeting dates for November and December are indicated, and the 2021 city council meeting dates are indicated. So with that, anything further, Natalie? Matt? No, sir. Ron?
I can't wait till we get back to our old home.
Dan? Nope. Bruce?
Two things here. First of all, as much as we've had problems technically, I do want to recognize that Carrie has been working hard at every meeting they've been at. She's been making sure we've done as much as we can technology. Appreciate that. Thank you again for what you've done. And Kelsey mentioned the bonding on the Heartland Trail. I don't think anybody here in the East on Highway 10, but after 15 years, there's actually...
There's a trail.
I'm not going to say the expletive, but I'm going to say that there's actually a pavement being poured. So if you get out there, look at it, it's fantastic.
Looks good, yeah. Thank you, Bruce.
And Mayor, I'd like to wish Heidi this week.
Yeah. You look good down on the beach there, though, Heidi. Dan, Leonard, anything further?
Nothing here.
Jamie? Okay, Madeline?
Nothing.
The business of this council is coming to a conclusion.